throwing shoes is something that we introduced as a tradition many years ago, where seniors graduating the program get to sign the bottom of their cheer shoes, write their years and things like that, and then throw them in their rafters. But it's hard for some people to give something of themselves, their time, their energy, their effort, or even their money without expecting something in return. Why are we allowing people who put a bad taste in our mouth years ago, partially due to our own failures, negatively impact the experience that our current clients are having, and saying, well, because this person many years ago did something bad to me, you now can't be a part of this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are talking about how I have changed my opinion on parent involvement almost a complete 180. Now, before we get into the episode, please get on our Facebook groups, Cheer Gym Owners and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners. And if you are looking for something to do with your staff this summer, you have got to get to the Next Gen Conference in Dallas, June 20th through the 22nd of 2025. We are going to be breaking it down. We are going to be going into everything cheer, from business to skills. We have amazing speakers, phenomenal keynotes, fantastic sponsors. You are going to want to be at this conference. If you're looking for something fun to do with your staff, you're looking to grow your knowledge, or just elevate your game as a business owner, you've got to make sure you get there. Tickets are on sale now. We only have about 100 left, and I don't want you to miss out. So make sure you get registered for our conference in Dallas, June 20th through the 22nd of 2025. I will see you there. All right. So this is front and center of my mind right now, of the fact that I have pivoted pretty strongly just within the past few weeks of what I am going to allow parents to be involved in my gym, or allowing parent involvement. And I will give you some history of where I was and where I'm going and how I see this progressing. But I've always been very opinionated on this one, and opinionated because of how things started in my cheer gym owner career. And if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know I'm a big believer in not just doing things because it's the way you've always done it. You need to continue to assess and continue to evaluate and continue to determine if what you're doing is the right way forward. Or did you make decisions based off of data at the time that is either no longer valid or was faulty data? So, history being, when Tori and I first started the gym, as most gyms do, we relied very heavily on parent assistance and parent involvement, and people who wanted to help, and we had team moms, and we had a whole bunch of ways for parents to be very involved in the program. In those years, it kind of backfired, and I have historically been a person to say, look, keep things very clear with your clients. Have a customer to business relationship. Obviously, you have a close relationship, and you can be open and honest and have caring conversations, because we have a different level of investment than a waiter or waitress does at a restaurant, or McDonald's has with us. Like, we have a deeper relationship with our clients, but to always keep things very much professional in nature. The business that you are frequenting, I'm not going to ask you for your time for free. I'm not going to ask you to do things out of the goodness of your heart. And the reason being, back in the day, those things would be continually brought up by parents when levels came out or team placements came out. It's like, well, we volunteered for every single thing last year, or we did X, Y, and Z to help the program. And it was like, well, that doesn't change the fact that that's not the right team placement for your athlete. We don't factor those things in. We appreciate them. They mean a lot to us, but that is not the factor in making this decision. We started to taper down the amount of things we had parent involvement in. And the last thing to go was team parents. And now I will tell you, I haven't pivoted on team parents. back in the day, we had team parents to help aid in communication from ownership to the parent group. We found there were a couple different occasions where team parents created more headaches than they helped solve, meaning it took us a bunch of time to put the information together for the team parents. And then it oftentimes actually slowed down the flow of information because we would have to get the information to the team parents, and then the team parents would have to get it out to the team parents or the other parents on the team. And it just was not super duper effective for communication. And especially with the advent of things like Band and other apps that made it very, very easy to communicate with everyone or one singular team, we just really didn't need to have team reps or team parents. On top of that, it became, again, a very much a like, well, why did you pick that person to be a team parent? And there were team parents that we would pick because they seemed like great people, and then they'd get big heads on their shoulders and they'd start bossing people around and kind of acting like they had a say in ownership decisions or even coaching decisions. And it just created a lot of struggle. And rather than try and solve the problem, which was cultural issues within the program and making sure that expectations were clear from the beginning and taking people out of positions as soon as it became issues became apparent, we felt easiest solution, don't do it anymore. And while that is a very easy solution, I don't know that it was fully the right one. And so that is kind of the background. We always had a lot of issues with it. And I've always been a big believer in, look, you pay me for a service, so I'm going to deliver that service. And if I'm going to do something in the business, I'm not going to put out a message and say, hey guys, we're painting the gym today. Anyone who wants to come help paint, come help paint. Or, hey, we need to raise funds for this event, or we need a team building thing. Can parents set something up? I always have been very hesitant to do that because I don't want to create a sense of entitlement. And it's hard for some people, and I'm not trying to cast stones, but it's hard for some people to give something of themselves, their time, their energy, their effort, or even their money without expecting something in return. So for me, it was like, well, let's just keep things really simple and say your return is what you pay me, and then you get the service. And I'm not going to ask you for anything more than what I've asked you for. This does make sense. And I will say that our drama in regard to those things, almost non-existent over the past few years. Very, very limited, if at all, because people didn't really have the opportunity to say, well, I volunteer for every single thing, or I do this, that, and the other thing to help the gym out of the goodness of my heart, and therefore I should get X that I'm not getting. Now, fast forward to today and where I've been the past couple weeks and why I think that this is something I'm going to pivot on and how I'm going to pivot. So why is I think that it is actually incongruent with the values that Tori and I hold dear of this being no matter how big we get, a family-focused gym. And we believe in creating a family at the gym. And we're not really doing a good job of creating a family if we're keeping everything very transactionally relationship-based. Here's my money, give me my service. So although we've done a really good job building that family atmosphere, I think it could be much better if we allowed people to be a little bit more involved. Number two is that I have very skilled and amazing people within our business that can help us do things that we're not already doing or that I don't have time to execute on. And so taking the time to allow them or letting them donate of their time and energy and effort allows me to focus more solely on the things that I'm really good at coaching their athletes, growing the gym, growing the business, and things that ultimately move all of us forward. So I've noted those things, and I'll tell you a couple stories of things that kind of made this come to fruition for me. So I thought about it for a bit. For those of you who've been following the podcast, we're moving into a new facility. And in fact, this is probably the last, depending on which order I release this in, or the second to last podcast that I will be recording in my current little studio. And then I have to go build a new studio in our new gym. We are doing tons of work. So the space that we're moving into is 5,000 square feet bigger than our current space, which is 15,000 plus square feet. So we're moving into a 21-ish thousand square foot building. It's amazing. It's huge. And we've been in our current space for over 12 years. And so there's a lot of stuff that's just built up here. And there is a ton of work to do to move. It's going to take lots and lots of effort and energy. We are building 3 spring floors and a tumbling floor area, a foam floor area. And then if you've ever seen what my tumbling deck looks like, we call it the tumbling deck. We don't have the ability to go in ground, but we basically raise the ground up so everything feels level across the tumble tracks and rod floor and things. And so we spent a lot of time and energy in kind of creating this contraption 12 years ago. And now we are now moving that contraption. In fact, I'm all sweaty right now because I was just taking the one in the current gym apart. We have a ton of work to do. On top of that, when we were looking at the move and we got our construction quote, one of the things they quoted us for was painting. And we noted that to paint, after they drywalled and moved things around, it was going to be over $30,000. And we were like, whoa, we could probably save some money there. So we asked them to take that off and said we would paint ourselves. In so doing, Tori and I had, we hadn't yet put it out to our parents because Tori really wanted to do like a grand opening. She really wanted it to be like, voila, here's the beautiful new facility. And it's like new. But coming back from D2 Summit, one of my level 4 girls was like, hey, I need to do a service project for school. And they said that I could help with the new gym as long as I was volunteering my time and I got people together to help. So this athlete got a group of her teammates and some other athletes from the gym together to help out. And I was initially very skeptical. I'm like, this is not going to be super useful and not going to be very helpful. Well, I was 100% wrong. These kids absolutely came in and crushed it. And it was teenage girls, 1 teenage boy, no adults, aside from me, obviously orchestrating things. And they basically moved and set up almost an entire spring floor. And like they hustled, they moved rod floor, they did all of these things working together. And on top of it, they were super stoked to do it. They had an amazing time. And kids were going home and being like, Mom, I built the floor that we are going to practice on. Like I put it together. I helped lay those boards down. And it meant something to them. And I realized that this is a huge opportunity to allow people to feel as much a part of creating our new home as Tori and I feel, as the rest of my staff feel. And I think that there's something deeply important about that. And so we put it out and we said, hey, anyone who wants to come help this next Saturday, we're working all day. A good group of people came in and helped build. Athletes came in and helped move things and help build. Kids were asking if they could, write their name in paint on the floor before the spring floor went down. So they were like leaving their mark on the gym. There was one of our athletes took a photo out on the spring floor. It wasn't like no mats or anything yet. Her mom sent Tori a message about how she was so excited to build the gym that she was then going to someday throw her shoes in when she graduated. And this kiddo was like 9, I think, very young athlete. For reference, throwing shoes is something that we introduced as a tradition many years ago, where seniors graduating the program get to sign the bottom of their cheer shoes, write their years and things like that, and then throw them in their rafters. So we have a bunch of shoes hanging from our rafters, which some people will be like, ew, that's ugly. But for us, it's a really big deal to be a senior and get to throw your shoes and, leave your mark that you were always you'll always be a part of the program. That was just so cool. And we had another big event so we had our awards not banquet. We don't serve food, our awards ceremony. And we've always done it in the gym. And to be frank, we do a mediocre job. We rent a stage. The awards are fine, but we don't have the time to go crazy above and beyond. One of our moms reached out afterwards. Absolutely amazing mom. She has had a couple daughters come through our program. One of them just cheers in high school now. And one of her daughters is on my level 4 team this last year and is returning. We haven't placed teams or anything yet. And she had kind of reached out and said, hey, give me a budget and me and some other moms will set this up. We'll make this a thing. We'll do a real end of season event, because they know that we don't really have the time and the capability to set something like that up. And that's really always been the biggest limitation, is I just don't have the time to make reservations and order decorations and do all that. I just don't have the capacity for it with everything else that I'm doing. We were like, you know what? Let's do it. Why aren't we trusting these people? Why are we allowing people who put a bad taste in our mouth years ago, partially due to our own failures, negatively impact the experience that our current clients are having and saying, well, because this person many years ago did something bad to me, you now can't be a part of this. And so I've really shifted. So moving forward, we are very much looking at putting together some parent committees. And actually, before I go into that, we had one more event, which was some parents decided to put on a barbecue that just yesterday, actually, for our team that won D2 Summit. And it was awesome. They opened up their house. They had food. There was so much freaking food. It was food everywhere. It was great food, great company. They had custom cookies and like all these things for the girls. It was very, very cool. They made them posters, etc. I didn't have to lift a finger. And the parents were so happy to do it. They wanted to have this experience for their kiddos. If you had asked me to do it, I literally do not have the capacity. I'm barely keeping my head above water as it is with everything I have going on with team placements coming up and moving into a new facility and moving out of a current facility and starting camps. Like, I am at capacity. I have no room for anything else. And these parents had a blast. They loved it. They got to do something cool for their kids, and they did it way better than I could have. So moving forward, what we've discussed is like, okay, well, let's put together some parent committees. Let's put together a group of parents on each team that are in charge of developing, plans for 2 to 3 team building, team bonding, get together events a year. And on top of that, let's put together a committee to do our end of season event. We'll give them a budget. They can raise additional money for it, but we'll give them a budget for the event. They can go forth and they can set everything up and they can make it happen and they can deliver an amazing experience for our kiddos. And we can focus on giving the awards and doing the acknowledgements that we always do, but they can give it that extra level. They can elevate it to that being a really memorable experience that we've just never had the capacity to deliver on because we're overburdened. And this is where I think parents in the program can be really beneficial, using them to augment yourself and take on things that are great passion projects that they're going to be highly invested in because they care and they want it to be something amazing, is generally speaking only a win scenario. Now, the key is at the beginning, you want to make sure that you make the expectations clear and what you are asking for clear, as well as what their role within the gym is. This is your purview. This is your left and right limits. This is what you can and can't do. You're volunteering your time. We appreciate you, etc. And do some things to acknowledge those people at the end of the year, but just leave it at that, right? And let people help you in your gym. It's only going to, especially if you have a family environment, it's only going to help you with that family environment. And especially if you have coaches who are like, I don't have time to plan these team building events. I need to watch videos and do the score sheet and rework their elite sequence. It can just be really, really helpful to have other people who they're only focused on making sure those experiences happen for the athletes, because it is those experiences that are so important long-term to retaining kids in the sport and ultimately what they're going to remember. So it's been an interesting progression for me, but I am so thankful for the parents that have been helping. I got even just a tad emotional. It hit my heart as I was leaving the gym the other day on Saturday, and there were all these trucks just filled with stuff and people were unloading things. And I was driving back to the gym to get another load of stuff, and people are just hustling and they're just doing it because they want the gym to be successful and they know we need to move and they want to make things easier on the staff. And it means the world to me that we have those kind of people in our lives who are willing to give up their Saturday to help, willing to give up their time to paint and move things and set stuff up. And they get to leave their mark on our program, which ultimately helps people feel involved and gives them a sense of belonging. And that's ultimately what we want. So I'm really excited for what the future is going to bring with our parents. I'm super excited about these committees. I'll update you. Certainly, if they go absolutely horribly and I completely mess up, I will let you know so you can learn from my errors. But this is how I have almost completely changed my opinion on parent involvement in my business. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. We passed 100,000 downloads. Absolutely means the world to me, to those of you who listen regularly. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode.